Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev. This time with me, Q Macro. That's DJ. No, with me, DJ, Q Macro. When am I ever going to get that right? Anyway, it's all a load of fun. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Good morning, Tim. How is the weather down in South Manchester? I guess that's where you might be. It's pretty windy here. Quite a windy, breezy run this morning. Although it was fairly clammy, warm, a bit wet. Yeah, there we go. So I've got my coffee, my second coffee of the day. I'm using my Hands-on SAP Dev mug. This is the one that I got made when we did that OAuth series of episodes, and Alex Ellis did me a mug, OAuth at 8 a.m. A brilliant phrase. So welcome. It's wet. Okay, yes, it's wet here as well. Schönen guten Morgen, Andrew. Down there in Australia. Welcome, Andrew. Nice to see you. Glad to have you back. We've missed you. And Mahesh, good morning to you. And Tapio, good morning. Rahul, good morning. Christian, good morning. And Mark, aloha. I feel suddenly warmer. That's some sort of sunshine and the surf. I can hear that surf in the distance. So thank you for that, Mark. Shad, good morning, Shad, and welcome. Welcome. I'm looking forward to this one. Let me just switch to the main scene, really, because I've got a few things to share, a few bits of news, as usual, to share. And then we'll get on with where we left off last time, in relation to our diving into messaging on SAP Cloud Platform with the Enterprise Messaging Service. So first of all, though, let's have a look at the news. I've got the folder here of stuff. Let me just so just so you're aware, the SAP Community Coding Challenge, we're on challenge number 3 now. That's still going. That's been extended because of all the the vacation season. People are away, so we want to give people enough time to complete it. So the SAP Community Coding Challenge number 3 has been extended. The deadline has been extended until 7th of September. That door's just open because of the wind, but I think we're okay because the other door's shut. That's fine. So Servus, Gregor, Servus. In fact, Gregor, I've got some news relating to you, of course, and Volker shortly. So there is the Community Coding Challenge. If you haven't had a look at this and submitted your solution, now would be a good time, or this weekend, well, not right now, but this weekend would be a good time to do it. Really interesting challenge. It's a Java-based challenge to do with emojis. So, who knew? On news, Gregor, you've just come in at the right time. And I'm talking about Gregor, of course, because at the bottom here, the authors of this particular blog post are not only Volker, but also Gregor. So as you know, I think generally, the heart and mind from CAP is moving in the right direction in terms of open source and being open. And the two database systems, two persistence layers that are supported out of the box from the CAP teams inside of SAP are, of course, SQLite and SAP HANA. But there's been a lot of discussion about, supporting other databases. But cut a long story short, we have now, as of, when was it? Yesterday? Was it announced yesterday, Gregor? As of yesterday, announced CAP is beautiful, and because of the work that Volker and Gregor and other people have been doing, but mostly Volker and Gregor, I think, we have now support for PostgreSQL. So Gregor, if you want to put in the chat a little bit more about that, or anywhere where people can go, I know there's the blog post here, but also most importantly, the GitHub repo. Where is it? Fork code, there it is, CDSPG. There's the GitHub repo. What a brilliant piece of news to start the day off. So this is just so fantastic to see. It's a really nice combination of the community and the mentors and folks like Volker and Gregor and lots of other people, and the awesome people inside the CAP teams internally here at SAP working together. Absolutely brilliant. So it's great to see. So check that out this weekend. So Andrew, Mark Tyson, no problems yet on 10.15.6. Oh, is that? Oh, Mac OS. Anyone experienced crashes on Mac OS recently? Actually, I'm not since Catalina, I'm not a fan of Mac OS, but actually it's been okay. So fingers crossed, we should still be okay. So yeah, Gregor, SQLite only for development course. Yes, SQLite only for development course. Well pointed out, Gregor. So yeah, check this project out, CDSPG. Really, really nice. It made my day yesterday to see this. And also it made my morning, little link there, it made my morning to see finally we've been able to announce in the run-up to TechEd this year, which is, of course, going to be later this year. And it's going to be virtual, of course, because of obvious reasons. We've got not the equivalent of InnoJam. You know, InnoJam was an event that took place just before TechEd, where developers got together and hacked on stuff. Okay, but that was a physical event, and they all got together in usually in a venue relating to TechEd. But of course, this is also virtual. So what we're doing is we're sort of having this festival, this celebration of what it is to be a developer. So you can read the blog post from Tom that was only published last night. So it doesn't if you've missed it, that's because it's only just been published. Hey Eric, good morning to you in South Africa. Great to have you. Welcome on board. Really great to see you. So yeah, check this blog post out. But I guess maybe even more importantly, in the blog post here, there's a link to the #1 resource for this. Basically, if you remember one URL for the Devtoberfest, it's the GitHub repo. Just like, for example, Volker and Gregor have put their stuff in their GitHub repo. This is the GitHub repo that you need to remember. The Devtoberfest GitHub repo we just made public yesterday, and it's got links to all sorts of things. It's got the description, but basically the idea is that it's a celebration of developers, which means that we're not going to try and get you to come up with some sort of business idea or business software idea and implement that. No, we want you to build something cool for your fellow developers, for yourself, scratch your own itch, for somebody else. Using tools and technologies, in the SAP ecosystem, but also outside as well. So, for example, we've got enablement content, as in content that will help you learn about stuff that you could then use to build your solution, to address the challenge, come up with your own developer problem for the pure love of being a developer. I think that says it all. That's really good. So yeah, check that out. And if you have a look in the topics folder, did I say folder? Topics directory, come on DJ. There's all sorts of different topics: SAP Cloud Platform workflow, HTTP connectivity, RAP, Business Application Studio for Fiori development, Kima runtime, CAP, of course, HANA multi-model, and also other sort of non-SAP stuff. But of course, we don't live in a bubble. So we're all going to be adding to this as well, right, with other stuff. So check it out. And just so you know, the first enablement sessions, in this particular case, in the Cloud Platform workflow case, are going to be in the form of premiere videos, just like Tom Young has been doing on YouTube recently, some awesome premieres. We're going to do some videos I've recorded going through each of the exercises of the code jam, the workflow code jam, which I don't think many people have done the workflow or had a workflow code jam. I think I've only done it once before. So here are all the exercises. They all premiere. There's an introduction. Is an introductory 5-minute video. Pierre, good morning. Good morning. Bonjour, ça va, etc. That's the extent of my French, I guess. I'm much better at eating French food than I am speaking the French language. So yeah, check that out. And the first premiere, basically, you can see there's a GitHub calendar here as well, and that's a really good way of showing you what it looks like in the first premiere. Basically, we're going to do it in hour blocks: exercise 1, exercise 2, exercise 3, exercise 4, exercise 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And every video is less than 30 minutes. So in the premiere, basically you join the premiere. I join the premiere as well, of course, just like Tom joins his premieres. And we get to chat while watching me do stuff for that particular exercise. And there's going to be similar sorts of things as well for all the other enablement topics. Not all premieres, but videos and lots of different content. So have at it. So that's it. Yes, that's the I think the extent of the news today. Oh, Gregor, in CDSPG, we use a PostgreSQL database running in Docker for testing. Very nice to see that working in GitHub Actions. Oh, yes. So, Gregor, you bring up a really important point. I'm hoping to see some GitHub Actions-based developer cool stuff in Devtoberfest as well. Let me know what you think of the name as well. I think the name is awesome. You know, it's dev. It's sort of, you know, in September, Oktoberfesty things, and it's a festival, and, you know, it's all thumbs up. So kudos on that name. So there we go. Keep looking over here because I've got my my Italian biscuit. So I'm waiting to have that a little bit later, so I may go a little bit Italian again, like last time when I typed in amministratore instead of administrator. So I'll leave that there for now. Talking of Italian sounding names, at least, I apologise if I got it wrong. One of the things that we had last time on messaging, on Dive Into Messaging Part 1, which is here, of course. There's the link if you haven't seen it. God, I'm posting a lot of links today, aren't I? There's the link to the Part 1 of this. We connected something up. I'll explain what we did in a minute. And then we got a load of messages being sent to the webhook, and Samuele said, where's my mouse, by the way? Why is the consumption out of order? And that was because, and I think I paused it at the slightly wrong time, but here, if I have a look, oh yeah, there we go. You can see, if I pause it, yeah. So we had the messages being sent to the webhook, and I'll explain the context just to sort of bring us back into, you know, mindset where we're going to start off from. 1, 2, and we obviously sent the messages in order because we had a for loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. But they were received 1, 2, 5, 6, 9. Look, I can count 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, and so on. And Samuele spotted that super awesome Hawkeyes. And I think what we said was there's probably no guarantee because, and I'm thinking because of the way that the message distribution, the message pushes are managed, of course, right? And in fact, I had a quick look in the documentation. Here we go, delivery order. There it is. So on this help page here, certainly for the REST APIs for messaging, okay, we don't know yet because we're not there yet in our dive in series to messaging. You know, we've not played around with AMQP or MQTT yet. But in terms of the REST APIs, the order of delivery isn't guaranteed for the messaging protocols supported by the service. Oh, okay, so it's for messaging protocols. Okay, so and to be honest, that is not unusual for a messaging service. The messages are stateless and therefore shouldn't necessarily or shouldn't be thought of as being connected to one another in any sort of sequence or other relationship. So it makes sense. And I implemented a pub sub mechanism using HTTP a long time ago called Coffee Shop. And the way that I implemented the pushing out of the messages was, of course, to fan out that task to multiple services. So, of course, those services, you know, are pushing stuff and, you know, taking bits at a time. So it makes sort of sense that there's no guarantee. So there you go. Greetings, Jodelle. Nice to see you. Nice to see you on online again. Perfect. By the way, is Samuele here? I didn't see Samuele chatting, but of course, I only see people who chat. I don't see all the people who are. You know, I don't see the names of people who are joined. I just see the people in the chat. Anyway, so one of the other things, talking of what we talked about, one of the other things that we agreed, was that we want more, you know, typing code and making mistakes and doing things slower and you know, avoiding sort of bringing in huge canned bits of code. So I'm going to try, you know, I'm going to try and do more of that today. So keep me honest, and let's do that together. So where did we leave off? We don't need that. What's here? Oh, there we go. That's there. There it is. There it is. Okay, so we've got, yeah, this is where we left off, and we developed a little script to create a queue. Okay, we had already created an instance of the messaging service, an instance we called it emdev, and we'd already created a service key called sk1, and we created a queue. In fact, let's go and just see, and we'll do it right now. We'll do it sort of from the cockpit, so we have a nice easy way in. We can see things visually, and then we'll do it properly from the command line. So we've got, in my trial account, we have an enterprise messaging service instance called emdev, which is reflected in the name there. Now, by the way, folks, let me know. I've got the door open, but on like a tie-back thing, and it's really windy, so the door's banging a bit. So if the banging is too off-putting, let me know and I'll close the door. But it's quite warm. So we've got the instance emdev, and we've got a service key as well in there. So if we have a look at the emdev instance, we'll see that we have a service key, and it's from that service key. And I think we've got somewhere, have we or not? Did I delete it? No, we deleted it. So we'll grab it in a minute. We've got a service key called sk1. Come on. There it is, sk1. We created a service key. And in fact, let's grab that service key now. CF service, CF, am I logged in? CF login, let's log in. There we go, CF service key, emdev sk1. Let's have a look at that, and we'll just put it into a file, so we've got that for reference. There we go, there it is there. And in fact, don't forget that CF puts horrible stuff at the start, like getting key sk1, so we want to get rid of that. So said delete the first two lines, and let's put it into a key.json file. So that's the service key, and remember that the service key has two main parts: the management part and the messaging part. And you can sort of see the way that the APIs are also managed, the messaging APIs. There's a management set of APIs, and there's a messaging set of APIs. There's the management set of APIs there. We'll come back to this in a second. But with the management APIs, you can do stuff with queues, create them, delete them, list them, and you can do stuff with queue subscriptions, which we very briefly touched on, but we haven't really done anything at all with. Hopefully get to that today. And with the messaging APIs, that was what we use to push some messages. We can post messages, for example. Okay, so remember the difference between the management APIs and the messaging APIs. And there's the OAuth2 information that we use to authenticate and get a token, so we can make management API calls. And there's the management API sort of base URL. And then the messaging APIs, there's a number, because there's a number of messaging protocols. There's AMQP, which is this thing here. There's MQTT, which is this one here. And at the bottom, we got HTTP REST, okay? And that's the one we were using, okay? So if we have a look at, in fact, if we have a look at the queue set, we used a management API to make the call to create the queue, okay? And that queue, where is it? Where are we? Where are we? There we go. That queue, let's go to the dashboard. Let's refresh, go to the dashboard, and have a look at the queue, okay? And the queue that we created is called hands-on. And we didn't do any queue subscriptions, we'll come to that. But we did a webhook subscription, i.e. we created a queue and then we connected a webhook so that when messages were sent to the queue, those messages were pushed. And the emphasis is on the word push as well, because you can also pull messages. We'll get to that as well, maybe not in this part, but the next part. The messages were sent to the webhook. Okay, so let's just do a little bit of that just to remind ourselves, and then we'll carry on. What you can also do, and we'll be doing this as well through the APIs, but what you can also do is pause a webhook. Say, whoa, hold on, don't send me any messages right now because maybe I'm being upgraded or we're doing some maintenance on the webhook endpoint and everything. Okay, but let's just have a quick look actually at this webhook. The webhook points to this thing here. Webhook, Shiny Mongoose, KY, CF Apps, EU10, HANA-on-demand.com. And that webhook is, of course, as you probably remember, is, of course, this little application that we've deployed to my trial account called Webhook. So why don't we, where are we here? Let's just kill that. CF logs webhook. Okay, so let's listen out for some logs. Good morning, Max. You're not well joining late. You know, it's like nice to sort of, you know, make an appearance and, you know, just say, hey folks, that's good, that's good. Oh, Christian, a side note, the UI looks different when you use the default one. Yes, it does, Christian. So that's a good point, Christian. There's a number of different plans for enterprise messaging, and the one that's available to us in trial, which of course is the most important, is the plan that we're using, which is the dev plan. There's the default plan, which is different, and the dev plan will be sort of changing. We'll get new stuff maybe by the end of the year, maybe in sort of first quarter 2021, but the APIs are pretty much going to be the same, right? So and then the fundamentals and the things we're looking at, the messaging APIs and the management APIs and the fundamental concepts are the same, okay, which is important. Thank you, Christian. That's a good point. So we're waiting now for some messages. Let's now send. And what we did was we used this queue push thing, didn't we, to send some messages. And what we did, let's just go through this very briefly. We're going to get the service key, and then we're going to grab the messaging stanza from the service key. We're going to grab specifically the HTTP REST portion of that messaging stanza by looking for that SAP REST MGW broker type. If we have a quick look here, actually, vi key.json, that's this bit here. So basically, we're looking for this chunk here, where the broker type is SAP REST MGW, right? That's what we're doing. Then we get the URI, as in the base URI for the actual calls. Then we get the OAuth information and the token information, and we go and get a token, right? And then we can send some messages. And we send some messages, and we're using quality of service 0. We are going to cover quality of service on a future part for this thing here, this deep dive. Really interesting. Message pulls and message acknowledgements and so on. We're just going to send some messages. So let's do that now. In fact, let's just change this to 0.5. I'll make it run a bit faster. So there we go. Q push. But before we do that, where's the thing here? Before we do that, let's go to the webhook and pause it. Do you want to pause the subscription? That means that when we send the messages, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When we send the messages, oh, I need to make that auto refresh. Those messages are still there. We're still seeing them. Come on, 8, go to 10. There we go. There's 10 messages. And they're going to sit there until there's a webhook connected to this queue that is not paused. Okay, so we've got the webhook that's paused. So let's unpause it now. Okay. Do you want to resume the subscription? And also check this out. There's still, where's the logs? There's still nothing in the logs. So now we're going to press OK, flip back here, and hopefully we should see those messages in the logs. There we go. Bang, 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 bang. And just as Samuele pointed out last time and this time here, we're getting them in a slightly different order, 8, 9, 6, 10, whatever, right? So there's our messages. So far, so good. So yes, the fundamentals, Christian, have not changed, which is indeed important. Right, I'm going to have my part of my biscuit. Oh, they're nice. They're really nice. Especially with this coffee, which is from that local roastery, which is awesome. Heart and Graft down in Newton Heath. Really small affair. Okay, so. Hey Fabiano, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, what I was thinking is that we want to move on to start thinking about, let's have a look at the concept thing again. What we've been doing so far is this. We've been messing around with queues and we've attached, so we've got an app, which is our little queue push app, and we've attached that up. We're pushing messages to a queue, and then we're sort of draining those messages up. We're receiving those messages. We're having those messages pushed to us in the form of this webhook connection. Okay, and it's called a webhook. What's wrong with my teeth today? It's called a webhook subscription. Now, what if we wanted to have multiple recipients, let's say multiple webhooks, receive the messages that were sent? I want to do something first that, well, I know is not going to work, but I want to go through that with you. And so we can think about what it is we're trying to do and maybe why it doesn't work, and then we'll figure out what will work. So we've got a webhook, and that webhook is here, webhook subscription. It's a webhook that's connected to this queue. What would happen, given that our requirement is to have, let's say, 2 recipients, webhook 1 and webhook 2, 2 recipients receive those messages. So the messages come into the queue and go like this. Okay, good morning, Eric. Good morning. Great to have you. So I guess we want 2 webhooks, right? And we want to sort of distinguish, I think, between the webhooks as well. So we know that if a message gets sent to webhook 1, then maybe instead of, because right now, if we have a look at the webhook route, okay, the actual route is just, slash, isn't it? Right? It's just go there. And that's because in our, where should we go? Anyways, let's use this one. Let's go out of here, webhook. In our webhook index, which we created, we're basically saying here, listen for incoming GET requests on this slash, this route path, and also listen for incoming post requests on the route path. But what you can do with Express is you can give it like a regular expression. So what I think we should do is change these to regular expressions first of all, this webhook, so we can send different things. And also, I guess what we want to do is show the path in the log, so that when something comes into the webhook, we know what path we're gonna, we can specify on the webhook. If we create a new webhook, right, we can say blah 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 HTTP slash webhook 1, etc. Okay, and in the second webhook, we'll specify in the URL of the webhook, in the path, webhook 2. Okay, and then we can get that. Right, that's the intention so far. Hey, good morning, Uzair. Is that how you pronounce your name, Uzair? Let me know if it's not, and apologies if it also is not. So why don't we do that first? Let's do that. So what we want to do is actually change this for a regular expression. Let's do we want to change that to a regular expression? Yes, so let's have a look. Node.js express path regexp. Turn up path to express routing. There we go. Ah, there we go. Okay, so we can actually write a regular expression still inside quotes by the looks of it. Okay. So what we want is something like this, right? So if we say, in fact, let's get rid of that then. Let's do that back. We want slash and then anything, any number of anything or nothing, right? So we want that there. And what we want to say as well is console.log. Let's have that thing again. I quite like that little hand. Request. I'm going to guess it's path. And let's put that there as well, so we can try it out. Okay, so let's start listening actually. So CD webhook npm start, and then curl localhost 8080 slash. Okay, we get a slash, but then we can say webhook 1. So we can now see that we're receiving this path, webhook 1, and then obviously webhook 2. So that's what we want. Okay. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments or in the chat rather. That's what we want to do. So in fact, that's all. That's ready to redeploy, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Let's do that. So cf push. Oh, webhook cf push. What did we do before? CF push random. Let's have a random route. Yes, random route. Will it have the same random route? Let's just see what happens. Zoom into that for a second. Let's see. Oh, okay. Webhook shiny mongoose. Cool. There must be some logic to say, well, that's already there, so let's use the same route. I can't remember. Because there's no, I've deliberately done this. Remember last time we deliberately did this, the simplest thing that could possibly work. We have no manifest, we have no any description at all of what this is. Okay, so let's go to, and by the way, while we're waiting, the really cool thing about the CFT, if you look at the services, and we are here in messaging administration, right, which is this dashboard, which we got from having a look at the, let's go into dev and having a look at the service instances. And then we clicked on this link here, this icon, open dashboard. Now, if we say CF service em dev, we get lots of info. And the dashboard URL is also in that information. So we can say CF service and then just say, well, let's print out when we see dashboard at the start of the line, print out the second thing, which is, come on, there. So we can say open, which is a Mac thing, open that's there, and we can go straight to the dashboard. How cool is that? You can imagine sort of automation from that as well. So there's nice information you can get from, that service stuff. So anyway, where are we? Let's go out there. Okay, it's now running. So if we now go to, for example, CF logs, in fact, logs, CF logs webhook, okay, and also say, ooh, there we go, curl HBS. Let's just grab that. Where is it? Webhook shiny mongoose. There it is there. Webhook shiny mongoose on demand. There and .com there. What's going on? Hey, oh. Where's the, oh, hold on. There it is there. Okay, perfect. There it is there. So if we do that again, we don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. There we go. So now let me do that again. There, and we get slash. So if we say now curl and then webhook 1, we should get webhook 1 in the logs. Webhook 1, etc. Right? Webhook 2, and so on. So now we're ready to attach 2 webhook subscriptions to that queue. So far, so good. So now shall we? Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Put in the chat if we should do this super slowly and not through the UI, because there is somewhere in here in the messaging REST API spec a way of creating a webhook subscription. It's down here somewhere. There we go. Create subscription. Shall we do it like this? Should we do it using the UI, or should we do it using the API? Let me know. I'm going to have a drink of coffee and we'll have a think about it. Yeah, let me know. So far, so good. Thank you, Andrew. Let me know whether we should do it through the API. This is like interactive, like one of those sort of interactive sort of books, you know, what happens next? Oh, go to this page, go to this page. I would quite like somebody to say do it through the API, because I think, you know, we learn more, don't we? So let me know. Let me know. The first person to say something, whether it's UI or API, I'll do it like that. Let's do it without UI, Andrew. Thank you very much. Okay, let's do it without UI. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to use the messaging API to create something, and we need API, brilliant. Okay, thank you, Tim, thank you, Eric, thank you, Fabiano, thank you, Jodel. So let's do that. Create subscription. There's also, I think, yeah, let's list the subscriptions first of all. You know, let's take baby steps, and then let's create one. So let's go back to here. Where are we? Okay, that'll do. Oh, we're already logging that thing there. Let's get rid of that one. Okay, so we've got our queue push and our queue set. Why don't we start to build up? Because we're going to have a number. I'm thinking we're going to have at least another 2 or 3 parts to this series. So over the next few parts, queue push. Let's start to create this sort of a more of a messaging API script. So we're not just pushing messages. We'll leave that thing in for now. But what we want to do instead is to say, okay, well, in fact, yeah, what we want to do instead of sending these messages is to say, in fact, let's just leave that curl thing in there for now. Yeah, there we go. Let's leave that one in. There we go. We want to use, let's just have this instead. Yeah, we want to use this thing here. So let's do a list first. So the list is, there we go, get messaging REST v1 subscription. Now the messaging REST, right? There's a base URL, isn't there? Okay, so why don't we have a base URL? Base path. Base path equals messaging REST v1. Okay, so everything else is relative to that. Messaging REST v1 queues, and then, you know, it's sort of like v1 topics, and we haven't done topics yet. V1 queues, v1 blah, blah, blah. So basically messaging REST is a little bit like, you know, it's a base URL like we saw in the workflow API and other APIs as well. Andrew, REST client, yes, like REST client so much more than Postman. Yes, I do too. Yes, maybe next time we'll use the REST client. But I quite like using this as well, because we've also got to, you know, put together some other bits and pieces like the OAuth. Oh yeah, I mean, how would you do OAuth in the REST client? You know, retrieve a token, because we're already retrieving. We've already got this local utils, haven't we, to go and retrieve our token for you in the service key. In fact, I've got an idea we could do something with that service key. But anyway, so what we don't want to send any data, and we're not sending any messages. So we don't want any quality of service. All we need to do is get messaging. Okay, get. Okay, yeah, let's do that then. So we want to say, well, let's be explicit, request get, even though it's default. And then we'll say in here, we'll say, what do we call it? Base path. Base path? Yeah, base path. Base path, not base path, base path. And then we want subscriptions. That's it. And what comes out? Application JSON, as we can see here. So I pipe that into JQ dot. And that's it. So that's listing. Okay. Does that work? Is that going to work? Yes. We can see here that we've got name, webhook. It's called webhook, isn't it? Yes. The address is to the queue hands-on. That's correct as well. What type is it? It's a webhook. It's a push configuration. It goes to that webhook Shiny Mongoose, our app on SAP Cloud Platform. It's exempt from handshaking. We did that last time, remember? And we'll do handshaking as well, because handshaking is also really interesting. We'll do handshaking again in another part. One thing I'd also like to do is, what's all this about, on-premise Cloud Connect's location ID? That sounds exciting and familiar, doesn't it? So we could try that as well. And at the moment, the subscription status is active, i.e. not paused. Actually, I wonder if, let's go over here. Let's cancel that. Let's get rid of that for a second. Am I still logged on? Yep. Okay, let's pause that. Do you want to pause the subscription? And let's see if this thing changes. Yeah, there we go, paused. Okay, cool. So we know we're sort of talking to the right thing. Let's unpause it. Let's resume it. So now what we'll do is, and maybe we should put this in a function, webhook subscription. Yeah, this is list webhook subscriptions, isn't it really? So what do we say? List webhook subscriptions. There we go. And we'll just indent that a bit. There we go. That's fine. So we've got that as a nice little function. Okay. And in fact, oh, the weather's changed. How cool is that? Light rain, rain shower. Excellent. What we should do is say here, list messaging, and then pipe that into ENT. I'm using ENTR recently. Which is a little bit like NodeMon, but a little bit sort of simpler and works for anything. Okay, so ENTR messaging, is that right? If I save that, will that work? I've been using it. What's going on? ENTR, this messaging, ENTR messaging. Oh, that was the same thing I just done. Oh well. Let's just run it anyway. So we've got that. So we can now say list webhook subscriptions, and that'll do the same thing, right? Messaging here. Okay, cool. So now let's have something similar, but this time we want to create a subscription. So we want, what's it called again? It's called, where's the, how many tabs have I got? Don't want that. Oh, yeah, we go, yeah, here. We want to create a subscription. Okay, so let's say create, no, we don't want it there, do we? We want to say create webhook subscription, singular. But we need a number of things, don't we? We need to know what we're going to call the subscription. So we'll have local name equals the first parameter passed to this function. Local, what do we need? Let's look at the thing here. We've got the subscription name. Oh, the queue name and the URL. Yes, that's it. That makes sense, doesn't it? We need the subscription name, the queue name, and the actual endpoint. Queue equals the second thing, and local let's call it endpoint. Local endpoint equals 3. Okay. So that's fine. So we need to pass 3 things to. Oh, and also, by the way, have you noticed these little warnings things here down there. Endpoint appears unused, verified, blah, blah, blah. I'm using shell check. Does anybody know shell check? Does anybody know about shell check? If you do, please post it in the, well, I'll do it. Shell check, shell check. There we go, Koala Man, shell check. Absolutely awesome. I've got it, I'm using in my Vim, I'm using asynchronous linting engine, ALE, which automatically pulls in shell check if you've got it and, you know, does linting for you. Really, really helpful to help you write better shell scripts. And of course, because, you know, remember on Tom's live stream yesterday, on Tom's premiere yesterday, we were talking about the fact that we're now, all of us have access to a common, stable, proper shell, the bash shell, for example, in the business, in amongst other places, the Business Application Studio. So bash scripting, the terminal, it's so important. It's everywhere. Even, you know, Gregor, you mentioned GitHub Actions. Now, of course, you can have actions running on different runners, but, you know, why would you want to run it on anything other than, you know, a proper Linux shell? So there you go. So where are, oh yeah, so curl. Now, what we want to do is we want to create some payload, don't we? We want to create this payload. Now, let's use, what time is it? 8:46, okay. Let's use, by the way, also, please let me know now, either now in the chat or in the comments later on. I would love to go over 1 hour. I know a lot of you have to, you know, we've only got 1 hour slot. Let me know if going over 1 hour is good or bad. What do you think? Or, you know, we'll just do 1 hour and then just carry on next week. Let me know how you want to do it. Yes, so I'm going to use JQ, I think. Not JQ, YQ. Yes. So we want to create a payload, and I'll do it separately. So let's say, let's call it build. What do we got to call it? Build webhook. Build payload for a webhook subscription. My naming foo is strong today, it feels like. Now, what do we want? We want to pass in those things, right? We want to build this sort of JSON. So in fact, let's copy those into there and say, we want to read some YAML because we're going to sort of cut and paste that more or less, right? I feel, Andrew says, I feel like you are watching my terminal, Andrew's terminal, multitasking with bash and awk and sed. Yes, it's the future. I mean, it's just common denominator tools which are super powerful, and they're everywhere. You know, the more we go into the cloud, the more we do this sort of cloud-based stuff, they're everywhere, in containers, in virtual machines, you know, in workflow GitHub action things. Anyway, read, spit out JSON, and is that the end of, let's have it, end of webhook subscription. And now we want this, right? So we want name, name. There we go. Yes, actually, let's do it a bit at a time. So let's just, so we see what we're doing. EO webhook subscription. What's that? Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's explain. We've used this before, haven't we? We've used this quite a lot before. Using the YAML query thing, a bit like JSON query, JQ. We're saying read some YAML and give me JSON, okay? Because nobody likes writing JSON. I don't like writing JSON. That here means read from standard in, but in this case, as it's within the script context, it's like, well, you know, standard in is everything after this line, or everything in this here document, okay? Greater than, or less than, and then a marker basically says, push into that all the stuff you find from here down to when you see this thing called EO webhook. It could be banana, it could be anything, right? It's just a token. So what do we see what that does? Okay, let's go down here and say build payload webhook subscription, the name, the queue, the HTTP, the URL. Yeah, okay. In fact, let's do that down here. Let's use npx nodemon for now. I don't know why the enter's not working. NTR nodemon watch messaging. Is it execute? Let's see. Can't remember. Ah, okay. Yeah, it did work. Okay. So what it does is it spits out some JSON. So if we now add, where are we? Here. To this sort of thing. Where is it? Oh, build. There we go. It's there. Build payload. We can now say, let's just go down a bit. Name, what is it called? Address. I quite like that. Q. Let's put it in quotes. Q colon Q. That's the Q name. Right? Is that right? Quality of service. We're still sort of avoiding quality of service for now because we're going to do that later. So we don't care about, you know, acknowledgements of messages for this particular webhook. And then we have push config, which is a separate section, so we can indent with YAML, which means, you know, it's a map, it's an object here. Type webhook endpoint, and now this is going to be the URL, isn't it? Endpoint, and also exempt handshake true, because we don't want to get into the handshaking part yet, which is super interesting, but you know, let's take one step at a time. So now if you run that, we should get, oh, there we go. Yeah, perfect. And in fact, let's just pipe it into JQ just to make, you know, to have a look at it neatly and nicely. There we go. So we get basically this, it's a slightly different order. It looks like it's in alphabetical order of the properties. Address, A, N, P, Q, right? Oh, wow, weird was that? My brain just stopped for a second. Oh, yes. Now, one thing I just noticed is that if I run it, there's a pause, isn't there? Right? There's like a 2-second delay. That's because we're going here to go and get the service key. Okay, and the get service key is inside this local utils. So let's open up local utils and have a look at it. The get service key receives the name of an instance, emdev in this case, and receives the name of the service key, and then goes and calls cf service key, that instance, that service key, takes off the first 2 lines like we did. Okay, so that's what we did earlier on, isn't it? And we piped that into cf service. We did that, didn't we? No, not that. CF service key emdev sk1. Delete the first 2 lines. That's what it's doing, and that's where the pause is going from. So why don't we make that a little bit faster by saying, if we've got a file locally, this is almost like the start of caching the service key. You know, let's not try and boil the ocean right now, but let's just say if we've got a file, and we have got a file, haven't we? We've got this key.json, but let's call it emdev-sk1.json, right? So it's basically made up of this service instance name and the service key name. So if we say here, local file equals, let's put it there. What do we want to do? We want to say file equals instance dash service key dot JSON. Okay, and then say if is that -r readable? If that file is readable, then we want to just spit out the contents of that file. We've already got it. Cat file. Otherwise, okay. I think, well, actually, just say echo from file, echo from interwebs. Let's just see that, see what happens. Now, of course, that file's going to go stale eventually. I'm not doing a full-blown sort of caching thing, but we can, this is the start. So now if we run messaging, was it messaging we were running? Yeah, messaging. Oh, hold on. Invalid numeric literal. What's that? VI messaging. Oh, okay. VI messaging. Local utils. No, not local utils. Let's get rid of that thing there. Let's just see what's going on. Okay. Messaging. Is that the right thing? Messaging. Yeah. Build payload webhook subscript. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. Messaging. Invalid numeric literal line 1 column 5. What's going on? Let's first of all turn on verbose output. I think I know what's happening. I'm clobbering myself, aren't I? Yes, I think it's okay. I reckon. Let's just put an exit there for a second. What's going on? Get service key. And the get service key is coming from local utils. Echo from file, cat file, blah, blah, blah. I think the echo is messing me up. But anyway, let's just see. Instance service key, get service key. Well, why don't we do this? Local, there we go, local. Let's source the local utils, lolcat, local utils, and then say get service key, emdev sk1. There we go. And in fact, did that say from file? Okay, cool. So if we say move emdev to x.json, so out of the way, and get it again, it gets it from the interweb. Perfect. That's okay. That's what we wanted to do. I don't know what I've done wrong there, but move x.json to emdev sk1.json. Let's get rid of the echoes. I think the echoes are messing up the JQ somewhere. There we go. Okay, so let's try that. Messaging. Let's get rid of that. Okay, that seems all right. Yeah. So now let's turn off the verbose. Let's just try that now. Okay, fine. More haste, less speed, DJ. More haste, less speed. Messaging, there we go. Okay. So, yeah, okay, so it's working. Okay, so the creation of the JSON stanza we need to post to create a subscription is working. So now, let's just finish off. It's 8:59. Let's finish off and create a subscription by saying local payload equals, but yes, we want to call it, don't we? We want to call build payload thing with the name, with the queue and with the endpoint. Okay, there's the payload. And now we want to say request. Well, let's do a post. I mean, even though it's default, right? Data. Data. Come on, DJ. Payload. Beep, 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 beep. Let's just get rid of that for now. I'm not sure what the output's going to be. Oh, Eric. Have you or are you going to do a video on EMS, enterprise messaging service with CAP? Yes, that's another one of the parts I want to do. I've not really planned anything beyond today anyway, but I've got a rough idea. But yes, I am, because Max, are you still around? Max and I did a session at SAP Inside Track. Sorry, SAP Online Track. Look for SOT 119 in that's a session, and we did a little bit of that, which was quite fun. So I'm building up, going around the houses and trying to build up to understanding messaging. And then once we sort of embrace, and I'll do more of that with CAP, we know what's going on underneath with the topics and everything. We don't even cover topics yet, but that's okay. So, payload, I think, Christian, thank you very much indeed. See you soon. Have a great weekend. We're almost finished. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's see what happens. Create Webhook subscription. Create Webhook subscription, and we'll give it the name Webhook 1. To the queue, hands on. Right? Is that right? And then we'll give it. Where is it? Where is it? There, we'll just copy that thing. Shiny mongoose. There. And then we'll have webhook 1 in the path. Okay. And then we'll have list webhook subscriptions. Okay, is this going to work? Let's find out. Let's close that. Ooh. Okay. Oh, look! I'm pointing at the camera because you've got to look there. Webhook 1, we created it. And where is it going to? Webhook 1 / in the path. So, I think that's a success we should finish on. It's 9:02. Thank you so much for joining. I didn't get as far as I wanted to get, but I never do. But I'm hoping we enjoyed going through the details and writing it manually. We'll continue building out our messaging script. We'll do a management one as well. Once we need to do a management one, we'll do a management one. But thanks so much for joining. Thank you for interacting. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next week. And don't forget the enablement sessions, the premieres for the workflow stuff. Monday, 11 a.m. my time, 11 a.m. British summer time. So check out the schedule on the DevToberfest. Okay, bye for now.